Hi, welcome to my young readers children's book reading moment, video about the U.S. Constitution. The name of the book I'm reading from is If You Were There When They Signed the Constitution. This is part 7, and the book is from Scholastics. So let me find where we were for part 7. Yeah, here we go. What 2 rules helped to make the convention a success? So, second, they allowed the delegates to change their minds. Even if a vote had been taken on an issue, someone could bring it up again. Whenever the delegates argued so much that they were afraid they'd split up, they could take a vote, then go on to something else, knowing that they could come back to the problem. If you and your classmates were making up a new game and you got into a huge argument about the rules, how would you keep one group from walking out? You need to find rules, as the delegates did, that would keep people talking until a compromise could be found. We will find out about all sorts of compromises in our Constitution. What is a compromise? A compromise settles an argument because each side gives up some of its demands. Suppose every week you wanted to watch one TV show and your sister wants to watch another. You could have a fight every week, or you could watch your show one week and her show the next week. Sometimes it's hard to compromise. I think this book was written before mobile phones, but I think you get the idea that sometimes you get your favorite dinner and sometimes your sister gets hers. That's another compromise. What was the first big argument about? James Madison's plan was presented first, and the little states hated it. The Virginia plan did away with the one state, one vote rule. The Virginia plan called for 2 branches or houses of Congress. The first house would be based on the number of people in each state. The members of that house would elect members of other smaller houses. The small states were shocked. They weren't dumb. They saw that the big states would have more power in each house of the new Congress. They didn't want that. For a while, it looked like the convention might split up. Gunning Bedford from Delaware said, "I do not, gentlemen, trust you. Will you crush the small states?" Then, the small states presented their own plan. What was the small states' plan? William Patterson of New Jersey put out his own plan that called for a Congress with just one house that would be based on the old system where each state would be equal. For nearly 7 weeks, as the weather got hotter and hotter and the windows remained nailed shut, the delegates fought, sometimes voting this way, sometimes voting the other. Luther Martin got up to speak for the New Jersey plan. He talked on and on, driving the delegates crazy. It might have gone on for 2 months had not the convention showed its boredom, wrote one of the delegates. Finally, the delegates decided to give the whole problem to the committee to try to come up with a compromise. There we go. So, what was the Great Compromise? We have lived for 200 years under the compromise with delegates worked out. It seems natural to us. Can you guess what it is? Roger Sherman suggested it weeks before it was accepted on July 16th. It seemed simple. Congress would have 2 houses, just like James Madison wanted. Only one house would be based on population, and the other house, each state would be equal. And that's how it has been ever since. Our House of Representatives is based on population, and members are elected every 2 years. In our Senate, all states are equal. Every state has 2 votes. Tiny Delaware is equal to California. Senators are elected every 6 years. Together, the House of Representatives and the Senate make up Congress. It took the delegates nearly 2 months to hammer out this compromise, and when they did, they faced another even bigger problem. What was the problem hidden in the Great Compromise? The problem was how to count the slaves. There were 600,000 African Americans in the country. 90% of them were slaves in the South. Under the compromise, the more people a state had, the more representatives it would have, and the more power. The southern states wanted to count their slaves as people. Of course, the slaves could not vote, but women and children were counted as people, and they couldn't vote either. The northern states didn't want to count the slaves. They argued that if slaves could be bought and sold, they were no different from horses and mules. Gouverneur Morris said slavery was the curse of heaven. Are they men? ? Then make them citizens and let them vote. Once again, the delegates worked out a compromise. Slaves would be counted as 3/5. In other words, 5 slaves would count as 3 whites. And this is where we have to stop today because we're already over the 8 minute. So we will pick this up again tomorrow. It's quite interesting how they came about counting things. So that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed part 7 of the book about U.S. Constitution. All right, so I wish you a good day. Take care.